We're speaking with Beat Klossner. Beat's a candidate for school board, a school trustee for the School District 73 here in Kamloops. Beat, are there any social justice causes you're involved in or at least interested in?
I've always been interested in social justice causes from a young child on, and I'm still involved. It starts like at the grassroots level. I'm involved in the Downtown Neighborhood Organization, for example. I'm also going to Green Drinks, Progressive, Red Drinks, talk to people, raise the issues whenever possible. Philosophers Cafe, things like that, community events, right? I've also been invited a few times to SKSS to talk to social justice classes, which was very interesting and a great opportunity.
What do you feel is the school board's role in addressing the big differences in socioeconomic status between kids living in the most affluent neighborhoods and those living in the poorest neighborhoods?
The problem we have right now is that we have standardized schools, but the standards are very low. And you can basically buy extras. You can buy an extra playground, more equipment for your gym, for music programs, that kind of thing. So what happens then, you have an affluent neighborhood, of course you can raise more money, you can get better equipment. If you have a poorer neighborhood, it's going to be very much harder. So even though we have standardized public schools, the effect what it is, we have poorer and wealthier schools in the public system, and we can't have that. The solution to that would be simply that we raise the standards for school. School has to be fully equipped with all the staffing, all the equipment, everything necessarily, no matter what the wealth of the neighborhood is.
What do you think needs to change in our school district?
The biggest problem here, what I see, is with the Board of Education having a disconnect to the actual schools. Because when I talk to people, I have had not a single person actually said that the Board of Education is doing a good job. The only time I have ever heard that is at the Board of Education meetings. So there's a big disconnect between teachers and students, parents, support staff. The Board of Education is getting very top-heavy. They're hiring a lot of managers, which we could skip some of that and hire more support staff, that kind of thing. So that disconnect, I think, is the biggest problem what we have right now.
There are many school-aged children living below the poverty line in Kamloops and across Canada. What role, if any, do you feel a school trustee should play in advocating for economic justice for these kids?
There is a few things you could advocate in there. There is, for example, transportation. Children should have access to school buses to school and from school. And I would say school meals. We should have breakfast, lunch, dinner, or afternoon meals at schools for basically all kids at maybe no charge. These programs cost a little bit of money, but they're actually very, very effective. And that makes them actually very, very affordable for society. And I think as a school trustee, it is my job to advocate for things like that.
Some folks see public education as a form of advanced babysitting. Others see it as a way to produce obedient workers for the labor pool. And others see it as a way to ensure kids become good citizens of their community. What do you feel is the role of public education in our society?
Well, we have a public education system that was basically came from the Industrial Revolution time. And what happened there, corporations were pushing for public education system because you needed workers that could read and write and have basic math skills. Our education system today is still based on that model. It has had a lot of reforms, but usually the reforms are geared towards the needs of employers. And I think that has to change too. We need more student-led studying, student-led curriculums. I think we should have less tests, less scorecards, so we can actually pay attention to the learning process instead of constantly working towards the next test. And we need to have independent thinking, confident young citizens coming out of the school system.
School support staff and teachers have had wage increases over most of the last 20 years that have not kept up with inflation. These workers are also in the middle of negotiating collective agreements, a big part of which will be wages. Do you support providing better than inflation wages so that we can recruit the most talented staff from across the country? Or are you satisfied with subpar wage increases, which will prolong the current difficulties in acquiring an adequate number of staff?
Well, I can talk of my own experience. I've been a baker and pastry chef for most of my life, over 40 years. I know my wages have been dropping for 40 years straight now. And obviously, I mean, covering inflation, that just covers your cost. There has to be more than that. It makes life difficult for teachers or for employees, because you not just that you're at work, but you also hassle afterwards to pay your rents, your bills, and that kind of thing. That doesn't go well for your profession, right? So yes, we need at the very least inflation coverage, plus there has to be more. We need to be a nice place to work for, a generous place. You want good performance from your employees. You need to be generous. You need to be good for them.
Great. Thank you, Beat. Good luck.